So within Carpology videos, it's very rare that you see myself or Joe actually using the kit that we choose to use. And that's because 90% of our time is spent showing you new products. Now, these products generally are very good, otherwise we wouldn't be showing you them, but that doesn't mean that they're our product of choice or our kit that we'd like to use. So this video is going to be a little bit different because this setup I've got here is the setup that I'd actually choose to use when I go fishing myself. So I'm going to run you through it, what I'm using when I do actually have time to go fishing, which is very, very rare. But let's start with the rods. So these are the South Coast rods, 10 foot, 3.5 pound test curve model. They're still a prototype at the moment, and I think they're due to be out in early 2024. Don't hold me on that. But yeah, I've been lucky enough to get my hands on a set of these as prototypes, and that goes back to about April this year when I met up with Graham from South Coast Rods. We filmed the 12 footers, which are very, very nice rods. Up until then, I'd been using Nash scopes in 9 foot 3 pound, and they're absolutely bang on. They catered for probably 80–90% of my fishing, so I really couldn't fault them. But what I did find is certain situations, they just weren't quite enough. So if I went to a bigger lake, I just couldn't hit where I wanted to hit with them. Partly because they're 9 foot rods, partly because they're a 3 pound test curve. So there's no fault of the rod at all, because that rod isn't created or built for fishing bigger waters. So I found myself getting 12 foot rods out, but I don't really like 12 foot rods anymore. They feel big, clunky, awkward. So I wanted a bit of a go-between. And like I say, when I met up with Graham and he told me that they were creating a 10 foot rod, I wanted to get my hands on a set really. And that was back in April, and I've been using these ever since, and I've not actually reached for a 12 foot rod at any point. Now these are ideal on smaller waters. They're still nice and accurate like a 9 foot rod would be, but they've also got that backbone for bigger waters or weedier waters. If you're aiming for bigger fish, something like that, they've got that backbone. But then I've also caught 10–12 pounders on these, and they've still got a lot of give as well. So there's no chance of hook balls at the net because they're not broomsticks. They're a really nice play in action. So yeah, I can't fault the rods. Really happy that I've got these. And probably the only downside to them is they're not retractable, but I feel like that gives the actual rod a different feel. And after years of using scopes and using retractables, it's quite nice just to have a proper two-piece rod again. So they do feel that bit stronger, I think. So yeah, really happy with these rods. Moving on to the reels, they're not the newest, they're not the smoothest, and I've probably had these for the last couple of years, as you guys would have probably seen if you follow me on Instagram, because pretty much all I post is rod shots. But these are the Daiwa Tournament 5000 Ts, and I got the black edition for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I prefer the black, but the other colour they do, I think it's like a bluish sort of, a deep bluey purple sort of colour. The paint is meant to flake quite a bit on them. Now these are super old reels. I think they've been around for 20 years or something. The black edition's slightly newer, and I think they've managed to make the coating stay on that a bit better. So yeah, a couple of reasons for getting the black ones, but I do also prefer the black as well. It's a bit of a sleeker look to them. But yeah, they're great reels. Like I say, they're not the newest, they're not the smoothest, but there's something about them that make them very, very cool reels, and I am really happy with them. Probably the only thing I'd say is about the line clips, they're quite lethal. So if you're using a low diameter line and you're using the original line clips, there is a good chance that you will damage your line, potentially to the point of actually snapping your line on the clip. And that's something that I do need to sort out on mine. You can buy upgrades. I think you can drill out the old clips and then put a new spring line clip in it. So it's just that little bit safer on your line. But to be honest, I'm using these with 20 pound Tiger line, which is quite a thick line, and that line can literally deal with anything. So I've not actually had any issues with it, but originally I did have some slightly lighter line and I could feel little nicks in the line when I was using the clip. So that's something to bear in mind. But aside from that, yeah, I love the reels. They are absolutely spot on. They definitely look the part as well. Moving on to the bite alarms, again, they are definitely not the newest on the market, and they are far from the most feature packed. But I think I've said it in multiple videos on this channel, tech isn't for me when it comes to carp fishing. As long as alarms beep and they go when they need to go, that's all I need. And these are the Mark III Steve Nevilles, so they're slightly more techy than the originals. You've got a receiver with them, you've got a little LED on them, but aside from that, they're pretty basic and they beep when they need to beep, and that's about it. Now the only thing I have done to them is I've put white rollers in, but I've kept them at the same 4 magnets. So the sensitivity is probably, I'd say, about a medium sensitivity. I haven't felt the need to up it to put more magnet rollers on, or I haven't felt the need to drop it either, because they only go when they need to go, basically. So yeah, really good alarms. And I actually use them silent on the head. So there's a little on-off rocker switch, but if you turn it on, off, and on again, then that keeps the head silent, like so, and then just the receiver will output a noise, which is absolutely fine for me. I don't like any noise coming directly from the rods, and to be honest, they are quite loud. So if I put them just as on, it's quite a loud alarm. I believe you can get bungs and things like that you can put into the speaker, but I'm really not too bothered. Keeping it silent and then just having the receiver and the bivvy is absolutely fine for me. So yeah, they're brilliant alarms. They beep when they need to beep, and that's all I want from them. Now moving on to the whole bankware and basically everything that's actually holding the setup together, I am using the Jag ProLite range. So I've got the ProLite bank sticks, and then I've got the Subcross Jag buzz bars. Now these are pretty much the perfect width, especially when it comes to using the Tawnies with the folded handles. On the rear bars, I can fold the handles and then the actual reels aren't touching whatsoever. So they're bang on for that. The front bar is very slightly wider, but the nice thing about them is they're an aluminium and then they're coated in black, it's like an anodized hard black finish. So it's actually a super lightweight set of buzz bars and sticks, which is quite nice rather than carrying stainless around. It does make a difference. And then I'm using the lockdown rod rests from Jag with the little white inserts, and to be honest, that grips the rod enough how it is. But I've also got these little rod lockers on as well, which I've done a video recently, and since I've done the video they've been on there. It just covers me if I do snag fish locked up, then it covers me that I know that that rod is going absolutely nowhere. The only thing I have found is a couple of times I've been using them and I haven't been snag fishing, and I've forgotten to press the release button here when I've picked up the rod. So it just takes a bit of getting used to. But aside from that, yeah, they're absolutely bang on. They do exactly what they're meant to do. And then I'm using the Safe Liner bobbins from Jag. Again, can't really fault them. They do what they need to do. They've got a nice little rubber insert, so it is safe on your line, as the name kind of dictates. And I'm actually using them with the small weights that come with them. I think you get a small and a medium with them, but to be honest, the small one has been absolutely fine for how I fish. I fish pretty slack lines most of the time, and it's just enough to actually weight that line down and weight the bobbin down. I haven't found any instances where I need to change them, but if I did need to, then they're nice and easy. The magnet just, or the weight just slides off, and then you can slide the bigger weight on. But yeah, that is the setup. But if I do actually go fishing for myself, that's the setup that I choose to use. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different to a normal one. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.